All right, so greetings as always. Johannes Wilder Manuel, the Gypty of Dea Rastafari Renaissance.com. And I know it may seem a bit late, just speaking on this particular subject here and speaking on Fidel Castro as another one who passed during this past year, 2016. As we have entered into 2017, it definitely will be an interesting year, just to say the least. With the passing of one of such infamy, even so, but such prestige, even in the same perspective as Fidel Castro, and even so, passing away as a revolutionary at 90 years old is, just another accomplishment, in and of itself, alone. But I just, really seeing the overall outlook on Castro, his life, his legacy, his, overall, just history, not only with his country, but, even as an individual himself, is quite interesting, just as a topic and a subject to discuss all on its own. And, really thinking on his brother, of course, who has succeeded him as president of Cuba, of course, and Che Guevara as well, other revolutionaries who really brought about that entire movement during the 50s and the 60s. Really interesting, just to say the least, about this particular group, in Cuba itself as a country, and with its demographics, with its politics, with its geography, with its culture, language, and even the expression of that particular language. It really begs the difference in showing that how much can be accomplished when ones are really all on one accord. Even with some of the nuances that may seek to divide much of the, I guess you can say, perspective and the goals and initiatives of a particular group can't be dismayed, especially when everyone is moving on one accord and everyone is committed, of course, to that purpose, whatever it might be. But just thinking on again the life and the legacy and the history of Fidel Castro, we really saw many things, and even looked into a lot of many of the unknown or less known rumors, especially even from speaking on Discipleship Radio. We mentioned just slightly a bit on many of the Hebraic ties to one like a Fidel Castro and also a Che Guevara as well. Many rumors, of course, surfaced at certain points and still kind of linger in many facets and many different, I would say, alternative circles of one Fidel Castro, of course, having Jewish ties, even so being linked, to what ones would know as the Moorish Empire. Those of Sephardic Judaism, those of Spanish Judaism or crypto Judaism. So just looking into that, just slightly, and still doing a lot of research on that. I even thought to a point of, speaking and having a couple of reasonings with my brother Rosh John Farai, of course, author of Rastafari Over Illuminati. And for once, be sure to check that literary work out, as well as the brother, of course, is coming out with another work very soon. If it's not already released, I have to check with the brother again to check on his works and the movements that he's been making lately. But we spoke briefly on many points, especially about ones like Che Guevara and Fidel Castro being Hebraically linked, as Fidel Castro's mother, I believe her name was Luis Ruz, and her having the particular Jewish ties and lineage itself, and more so linked to the Sephardi, or the Sephardic Judaism links, of course, there, or the Spanish or the crypto Jews, and so to speak. And you really do a lot of research more so on the Sephardic Jews, also with the Moroccan Jews, and of course, the Moorish Empire, the Moroccan dynasty there in Spain and Portugal and France, and even so in England, and even stretching as far as Germany. You'll find a lot of interesting links and historical facts to really uncover in that note. And really that whole empire really didn't come to a complete close until about the Ottoman Empire or so, and even then the ties were still very intricate, I could say, even just to say the least, about those Jewish ties, even amongst Islamic Europe, or Islamic Southern Europe. So just thinking on that point, even in itself, just a lot of nuances, and even mentioned there from Discipleship Radio. It was rumored also that this one Fidel Castro had survived, or at least was rumored to survive, over 600 attacks. So, I mean, with the whole Hebraic and Jewish ties, this was, just another interesting point to bring forward. As we know, any Jew or any Hebrew worth his salt, really, and honestly, knows that the Ten Commandments are, not so much as how they are left out. It's really more 613 commandments in all. And we're talking about from cover to cover of the Bible itself, if ones are really diligent in their studies, and any real thoroughly studied Jew or Hebrew, Israelite, what have you, will definitely have a knowledge of this. So that's just another, question again to beg for ones, and just searching out certain things as this, just to gain a little more clarity. But just tying that in here with this subject matter, and speaking on the life and legacy of Fidel Castro, surviving over 600 assassination attempts, even if it's rumored, is something to look into in and of itself. And having rumored Jewish ties or Hebrew ties, just really kind of paints a picture, in such a way that almost seems as if it's put in place specifically for ones to draw this type of conclusion. And again, just looking at not only his life and legacy of this one Fidel Castro, we're thinking of even his politics, even bringing about a certain conformity to the culture, and that of course grew out of what we know as quote unquote communist Cuba. And thinking of a certain literary work that was published, of course, during the time of the presidency and the regime of Fidel Castro, the World Economic work that was published, of course, with the authoritative release of Fidel Castro, and there with the works of the government of Cuba. We have the link here in the description box for ones to bring out, and of course download and take a look for themselves. Of course, Cuba really found itself, even making itself known to, really cultivate and culminate a lot of its own GDP, politically speaking, or gross domestic products like the sugar cane, and of course the livestock, and other farming products, and just things that really came out and were able to be exported and traded, internationally, with Cuba, pretty much allowing itself to sustain itself, and also, do business with other countries in such a way that allowed Cuba to really still thrive, in the midst of many of its enemies. And so it really was, an interesting history itself, really, with Cuba. Even that modern history really showed and proved a lot of the valiance that preceded it. Also thinking to even the work from Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr., Harvard professor, graduate, and professor, instructor, so to speak, who did a very, very interesting documentary, not only on blacks in Latin America, but also in the Caribbean and South America as well. But coming to the point here, and we'll also have this link in the description box to that complete episode there from the documentary there in Cuba, and speaking on its independence and seeing how Cuba came to its independence. This is, of course, pre-Castro, pre-revolutionary Cuba, pre-communist Cuba, and really just seeing the African influence, not only the influence, but the initial push toward its own independence, really relied much on the African diaspora, the African lineage, of course, lying there in the background, there in the midst of so much of what would become Cuba or Cuban culture today. So we really found just so many interesting points, so many diverse topics to speak on, not only with Fidel Castro, but Cuba, the country itself, and seeing how Hebraically, nearly, and really, just drawing on our own conclusions from this, and seeing how the country really came to be and really solidify its own economics, in a communal sense, almost in a similar fashion as the kibbutz was put in place, even in the state of Israel, and even pre-state of Israel, going back certain thousands of years, anthropologically speaking, just found a lot of similarities in the way that things really came about. And we know definitely that, things like commodities, will never really lose their complete value. No matter how many times certain things turn over, or certain economical structures may rise and fall, commodities will always be the base and the foundation from which any country, any community, any group will be able to sustain itself, because these are just things that are a necessity for any group of people's survival. So this just goes without saying, but in many cases it may have to be reiterated for ones to really grasp the point. But again, staying on topic and thinking of, again, this legacy left behind by Fidel Castro and his revolutionary, not antics, but proactive acts, especially there in Angola and South Africa, Guinea-Bissau, Namibia, Mozambique, Algeria, and of course all across the Caribbean as well. And being juxtaposed, even to the United States of America from such a time. We really just, even if, you hated Castro with every fiber of your being, it's just a certain level of honor you really have to give, even to your opponent, if you saw him as such. And he definitely showed and proved much of what many ones would say was the last of a dying breed in such a time when the world was in such chaos, and at such a turning point where certain ones who would measure up, on a certain level, not only in masculinity, but intelligence and cunning, and just overall, I guess you can say, for the moderns, a swagger, or, a real essence, of just manhood. Castro was definitely one to be reckoned with, and most certainly will not be forgotten for an extremely long period of time.